It's Wednesday, March 9. In the headlines, government introduces a $2,000 banknote. Government making moves against child trafficking. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago's government developing work-from-home policy. And in sports, West Indies women riding high on victory against England. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom Gill. New banknotes will be introduced in the coming fiscal year. This disclosure was made Tuesday by Dr. Nigel Clark during the 2022-2023 budget debates. Dr. Clark says the notes will also feature the history of Jamaica. He says part of that will be images of national heroes and late prime ministers who no longer feature on the current notes. He says this is the best way to give credit where it is due.
In the newly designed banknotes, the Right Excellent Paul Bogle and the Right Excellent George William Gordon, who were on Jamaica's original banknotes, but who today are on none of our banknotes, will be restored and appear together on the upgraded $50 note, Madam Speaker. United in the struggle for freedom, united in their sacrifice and unjust execution, those who sacrificed with them will be honored by their presence on our notes. The Right Excellent Marcus Garvey, who was on Jamaica's 50-cent banknote, but who is on no banknote today, will be restored and will appear alone on the upgraded $100 banknote. Madam Speaker, the Right Excellent Nanny of the Maroons and the Right Excellent Sam Sharp will appear together on the upgraded $500 note. Madam Speaker, the Right Excellent Alexander Bustamante and the Right Excellent Norman Manley, who were founding fathers of modern Jamaica and who were contemporaries serving over similar periods and rivals, who were on Jamaica's original banknotes, but are on none of our banknotes today, the Right Excellent Sir Alexander Bustamante and the Right Excellent Norman Manley will be restored and will appear together on the upgraded $1,000 banknote.
He explains that former Prime Ministers Donald Sangster and Hugh Shearer will be featured on the $5,000 note. One addition will be a $2,000 note. Dr. Clark states that late former prime ministers and political rivals Michael Manley and Edward Seaga will appear together on that note. Dr. Clark, who is Minister of Finance and Public Service, shared some of the features of the new notes.
The notes have to be distinct in color so we can easily distinguish them. Most of the features, most of the note is taken up in security features on the left and on the right. We have all the leaders appear on a note on a higher currency, higher denomination than they were before, and the photographs that appear are the same photographs that we have today, because getting permission to change all those photographs would have been, so the photographs are the same, and Madam Speaker, we expect later this year for these to be in circulation and they last 50% longer than existing banknotes.
In the wake of the current Russia-Ukraine turmoil, which has sent global oil prices to decade-high records, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the government will be implementing a $2 billion provisional package to support Jamaicans who would be most adversely affected and unable to absorb the impact of high petrol and energy prices.
We will come back on the details in terms of allocation because we want to discuss with stakeholders, get other people's views of how we should allocate it. But I can easily see, some of it being used to provide some relief to taxi operators who have fixed fares, and some being used for children on path who have transportation costs and so forth. But we will come back with greater detail as to how we are going to allocate it, because we want to listen to stakeholders and understand, to optimize the best way of allocating it. So rather than give back and, the way that they want, and rich people with SUV and Land Cruiser and Prado benefit from it, and people who have 6 car and 10 car, who use the bulk of the fuel anyway. We are doing it in a targeted way, where the poor and the vulnerable can be targeted. And we will come to their assistance at this time, Madam Speaker, just like we did during COVID-19.
Last week, state-owned oil refinery Petrojam hiked gasoline and diesel prices, reporting that the costs were mainly impacted by the war in Ukraine and the resultant sanctions imposed by the United States and its allies. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the country must rid itself of oil dependency.
A huge source of our oil import bill is for petroleum used by cars. However, technology exists today that allows us to reduce that dependence and reduce the operating cost to consumers. Electric vehicles, Madam Speaker, cost 1/3 of what petroleum-powered vehicles cost to fuel. 1/3. In other words, if it takes $10,000 to fill a car with petrol, it would cost $3,000 if the car was powered by electricity. This is so as using petrol as fuel wastes a lot of energy in the form of heat exhaust.
Dr. Clark says it is for this reason that the government intends to incentivize the purchase of electric vehicles.
As a strategic, longer-term response, and by reducing the import duty on electric motor vehicles from 30% to 10% for an initial 5-year period, and for exempting the annual registration fees on battery electric vehicles. Last year, the government earned only $27 million in duties on it from the importation of electric cars. This measure has a cost of $18 million, therefore, on current volumes. However, because duties on motor vehicles are so large and a huge part of government revenues, we will need to limit the number of electric vehicles being imported that benefit from this duty to in the first instance, 1,000 per annum. And we'll come with more details on how this will work.
Jamaica's first child-friendly anti-human trafficking facility has opened. The facility has been established through a $6.7 million partnership between the Jamaican government and the United States through its Department of State's Trafficking in Persons office. The child-friendly space is located at the upper level of the Falmouth Police Station. The facility will operate with a staff complement that includes a psychiatrist, trained counselors, and male and female police officers with specialized training in dealing with victims of human trafficking. Breaking barriers, empowered women, empowering women. That was the theme of the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports International Women's Day 2022 banner event on Tuesday in Kingston. Women from various entities shared their experience and nuggets of knowledge that they have learned and employ in the field that they dominate.
We must recall the words of Marcus Garvey, which declared that the quality of life in any society is measured in its treatment of its most vulnerable, usually women and girls. And as such, the government of which I am a part, and as your minister, I renew our pledge to promote equality, equity, and support for the nation's women.
We have to remember women and girls that face intersecting forms of vulnerability. We have to consider the specific needs of rural women, women with disabilities, women living with HIV, young women and girls.
I believe in equity. I don't really strive for so much equality that will come. But if we get equity and if we get empowerment, I tell my ladies every day, prepare yourself for the opportunities that are coming.
March 8 is recognized as International Women's Day, and a lot of activities are done to salute women making a difference in our society. In Jamaica, Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson visited several women working in specialized departments in the corporate area. His last 2 stops were at the Specialized Operations Branch and the K9 Division. He explains that 30% of the K9 handlers are female.
One of the instructors with us carrying me through what she has been doing and what some of the other officers have been doing as we search for the gunmen and seek to dismantle the gangs. So They are an integral part of the front-end operations of the JCF.
Time now for a look at the daily market update in the business report with Danita Rodney.
In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, March 8th, the US dollar sold for an average of $154.50. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $120.33. The pound sterling traded for $204.34, and the euro sold for an average of $170.24. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Tuesday's trading session. The JSE index advanced by 1,556 points to close at over 389,000 units. The junior market index declined by 91 points to close at over 3,000 units. The combined market index advanced by 652 points to close at just under 400,000 units. And the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 814 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 103 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 54 declined, and 13 traded firm. 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, and 1834 Investments Limited saw an advancement in their stocks, while AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited saw a decline. Access Financial Services Limited, CAC 2000 Limited, and Windies Pharma Jamaica Limited ordinary shares traded firm. Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with over 5.6 million units, followed by QWI Investments Limited with over 5 million units, and Tropical Battery Company Limited with over 4 million units. In market data for oil slipped toward $125 a barrel in volatile trading on Wednesday as investors assessed the U.S. ban of Russian oil imports. Brent crude fell $2.27, or 1.8%, to $125.71 a barrel after earlier rising above $131. West Texas Intermediate crude fell $3.19, or 2.6%, to $120.51 a barrel. And that was the business report inside the news on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett, says International Women's Day is an important platform to highlight the challenges women face in realizing their full human rights and to engage men and boys as champions for gender equality.
In a message to mark the occasion on Tuesday, Dr. Barnett said that it also provides an opportunity to celebrate the important contributions and tireless service that women around the world give every day at home, in their communities and beyond, and in every sphere of life.
We celebrate their many achievements and recognize the progress that has been made towards gender equality, while acknowledging that there is still much more work to be done. International Women's Day provides an important platform to highlight the challenges women face in realizing their full human rights and to engage men and boys as champions for gender equality.
Dr. Barnett says this year's theme recognizes the contribution of women and girls around the world who are leading the charge on climate change adaptation, mitigation, and response to build a more sustainable future for all.
They are involved in environmental sustainability initiatives around the world, and their participation and leadership result in more effective climate action. As a community, we need to continue to increase the opportunities and minimize the constraints to empowering women and girls to have a voice and to be equal partners in decision-making on climate action and disaster management.
Dr. Carla Barnett is the 8th Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, but the first woman to serve in the position. She was appointed on August 15, 2021. For the news on PBCJ, I am Carla Thomas Hewitt.
The wife of the assassinated Haitian President Jovenel Moise is urging authorities to ensure that all those who played a role in his murder be arrested and brought to trial. In a brief statement marking the 8th month since Moise was gunned down at his private residence, Martine Moise says she still cannot comprehend the motive for killing her husband. Mrs. Moise, who was injured during the attack, had to be flown to the United States for medical treatment, says, quote, "Only the sponsors and the executors hold the motive," end quote. Several former members of the Colombian army have been held, and the United States have laid charges against 2 people in connection with the murder. But despite these arrests, the authorities have struggled to solve the case. In St. Kitts, in an effort to rebuild cruise tourism, the Tourism Authority has launched a new tourism program aimed at keeping the interested parties informed. Glenn Bart reports.
As St. Kitts and Nevis continues to rebuild cruise tourism, the Tourism Authority has launched Petition Heartbeat, a program produced by SK Newsline and hosted by Andrea Huey. The program is aimed at keeping cruise stakeholders and the general public informed of developments and progress taking place in the tourism industry. In the first episode, host Huey speaks with Melnicia Marshall, the recently appointed Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. The CEO commented on the recent challenges involved in the early stages of the return of cruise tourism to the Federation.
Cruising is not the easiest when it comes to COVID-19. You have persons being on a vessel, you have testing, you have vaccination that you have to worry about. And so over the past couple of months, those have posed some challenges. Identifying protocols that not only work for the destination, but for the entire itinerary, because St. Kitts is not an itinerary on its own. We have to ensure that there are harmonious protocols across all of the destinations that one single cruise would visit during that 7-day trip or 8-day voyage.
According to the Deputy Chief Executive Officer, St. Kitts Tourism is re-engaging in various tourism markets, promoting the destination and making new linkages.
For our future, it looks bright. We continue to dialogue with our cruise partners. Cruising is still going. The partners, our global partners, they are excited about the industry. Yes, we know that Omicron gave us a little bit of a setback, and so as a result of that, we had some of our cruise lines having to modify their itineraries or make cancellations. But since then, they have indicated that they are willing to continue with their cruises. CDC has ceased the conditional sailing order, which sort of hampered cruising in a way. And so we are now able to move forward. It's a voluntary program now. Many of the cruise lines have indicated that they will be a part of that voluntary program because health and safety remains a priority. Over the next few months, we've identified our traditional trade shows that we would normally attend and sell the destination. They have come back on stream. So we have Sea Trade in April, and then we have the FCCA in June. Normally it's in October, but they have moved it up a bit. And so we're excited. The industry is exciting. We are looking at keeping that momentum going. We know that COVID still poses some unknowns, but we are still hopeful that we can continue to progress forward.
Prior to the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, St. Kitts had become a marquee port in the cruise tourism industry, attracting over 1 million passengers per year. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
In Barbados, the country has been ranked 5th in the Eastern Caribbean with the highest vaccination rates. More from Barbados today.
Barbados has ranked 5th among countries in the Eastern Caribbean and the French departments with the highest vaccination rates. The findings were revealed during an event on Monday involving the Pan American Health Organization, World Health Organization, and the International Telecommunications Union. In October last year, the entities launched a public health education campaign designed to tackle the high level of misinformation about the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccine hesitancy. Digicel was also part of the effort. PAHO, WHO's representative for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Dr. Yetis Gibre, said his organization was pleased to collaborate with the partners in an effort to help countries attain at least 70% vaccine coverage.
The information has to continue We have to educate. It's not only educating, but providing the right message through the right channel, as we have been doing with our partners like Digicel, ITU, and others. So it's a matter of working harder than what we have been doing. Definitely we're going to reach that target if people are receiving the messages appropriately.
123 Haitian migrants were apprehended by Bahamian law enforcement and customs after they attempted to sail to Florida. Our news has the details.
123 Haitian migrants were apprehended this morning on Kisal Bank. The group, made up of 50 men, 34 women, and 39 children, were taken in by a joint operation of immigration, customs, police, and defense force officers to Grand Bahama. According to a release from the Department of Immigration, all of the migrants appeared to be in good health, but were being checked by the Disease and Surveillance Unit. Last week, RBDF Commodore Raymond King told our news it appears migrants are attempting to get to Florida.
A work-from-home policy is being actively pursued by the Trinidad and Tobago government. This, according to leader of government business in the Senate, Clarence Rambarat, who was providing an update on the government's planned policy. TTT has the story.
A work-from-home policy is being actively pursued by the government. This is according to leader of government business in the Senate, Clarence Rambarat, who was providing an update on government's planned work-from-home policy. He said prior to the pandemic, a subcommittee was established to consider instituting a work-from-home initiative to improve performance and productivity levels within the public service.
Issues for consideration include a wide range of jobs and services that the public service provides, as some might be more conducive to work from home while others may have become obsolete. Reskilling and retooling workers, the terms and conditions of employment, structures, systems and procedures to facilitate work from home, parameters of existing legislative framework, responsibilities under OSHA legislation.
In sports, an unbeaten century from Johnny Bairstow took the shine off an excellent bowling performance effort by the West Indies on day one of the first Apex test in Antigua. Winning the toss and batting, England found themselves in big trouble at 48 for 4 before Bairstow, who's unbeaten on 109 with 17 fours, and Ben Stokes with 36, put on 67 runs for the fifth wicket to ease the pressure. Once Stokes was dismissed, Ben Foakes filled the void with 42, and then Chris Wokes, who is not out, on 24. The tourists reached 268 for 6 at sums of 86 overs. Bowling for the Windies were Jason Holder, 2 for 15, Jaden Seals, 2 for 64, and Kemar Roach, 2 for 7. West Indies defeated England by 7 runs in their second match of the ICC Women's World Cup at University Oval on Wednesday. Scores: West Indies women 225 for 6 of 50 overs, with Shemaine Campbell with 66, Shadeen Nation 49 not out, Hayley Matthews 45, Deandra Doughton 31, and with bowling Sophie Eccleston 3 for 20. England women 218 of 47.4 overs, with Tammy Bermond 46, Sophia Dunkley 38, Sophie Eccleston 33 not out, Danny Wyatt 33, Shamila Connell 3 for 38, and leading the bowling, Anisia Mohammed 2 for 24. And that's the news on PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.